Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi. Terima kasih kepada IPI, Prof dan juga IPI di atas tuntutan untuk memberi ceramah mengenai review artikel editor's perspective. So dalam masa 1 jam ni insyaAllah saya akan cuba kompreskan everything yang apa yang saya nak cakap. Selalunya setengah hari dia dengkel untuk saya seorang any 1 hour, so I think it will be nice because I can do it very quickly. Okay, so email saya dekat situ. Kalau ada apa-apa soalan selepas ni, silakan boleh tanya. Walaupun tak lepas ini. So tujuan the objective of this paper is to give some insight into what editors think when they receive a review paper, and because it's important that we know what the editors is thinking when they look at review paper, because editor actually they want their journal to be respectable, and they want to have, other than high impact factor, okay, journal article that actually help the development of the field. Okay, so that's actually the intention of establishing a new journal. So, so we need to look at the editor's perspective rather than the author's perspective, so that you can penetrate those journals. Okay. So writing and publication. So we write papers in journal, in proceedings, in books, chapters in books, translation, popular writing, grant proposal. We do a lot of writing. Okay, so these are some of the writings that we do. And today we're going to look at journal writing. When you look at journal writing, you have original research article, which you have been doing many times. Okay. So the first one is important because actually that's the new results. Okay. Will drive your field. Okay. The second one in yellow is the review articles. This one, some people make a career out of it. They just write review papers and they got high citation, high H index, and got promoted quickly. Right. So, but as a researcher, we actually want to concentrate on the number one. Okay? But number two, review article help us in actually putting together all the material that we have written and others. There are many types of review article, not just one. So I'm going to go through very quickly. There are 7 of them. Okay, so other than review articles, we have special edition proceedings, letter to the editor, comment, research notes, and so on. So we haven't talked about research note because it can also lead to a nice publication. Okay, so research note means that there are work that you've done, but not enough to be a full paper. It may be a method to prepare a new method to prepare a sample. Okay, a new method to analyze the data. But you don't have enough characterization to make it a full paper, but enough to make it as a research note. Okay, so maybe a 2 or 3 page paper, but very high impact. So, okay, that's another one that that sometimes we forgot to do. Okay. Right. So review articles, I've said, there are people who actually write review article because they don't have anything else, because they don't have grant. Okay, so they start writing and then they get high citations and suddenly they become a leader in the field. Okay, and then they got research grant. Okay, like that. So even though you don't have research grant, you can start writing review paper. Right? So that would help you also. A review article cover the development of a particular research topic. Sorry, spelling. A critical constructive analysis of the literature in a specific field through summary, classification, analysis, and comparison. Usually written by senior researchers who are well-known experts and authorities in their field. Okay, this is a very conventional view. Okay, very conventional view. because actually young researcher can also write review paper. If possible, together with a senior researcher. Okay, because normally when you do your PhD, you have a literature review. If you can, if it's a very, very complete literature review, you can publish that together with the supervisor and make it a very nice review. Okay? A review paper can be very long or it can be very short. Okay? Organize and assess the literature. Assess the literature. Okay? Also to identify pattern, trends in the literature, and to synthesize the literature. Okay. So at the end of this talk, I will give you 2 examples of my recent review article that I've written. Okay, and maybe you can use that example when you start writing your paper. Identify research gaps and recommend new research area, new research direction. Okay, so when you write your review paper, you not only focus on what has been written before, reported before, you should also watch trend and also recommend new research direction. Okay, that's what editors looking for. Not just a collection of data done by other people. You need to synthesize it and you need to recommend new direction and new gaps, what's the gap in the literature and so on, so that it will be useful. Okay, because when we receive for when we receive review paper, it's just a bunch of collection of papers and there's nothing else after that. Okay, so that's why we need that senior person to look at it and give some very useful input, okay, for that particular field. Okay, so you need as many relevant articles as possible in a particular field for a period of time, not covered by the previous reviews. Okay, so if there are reviews from, let's say, for 2000 to 2010, right, and 2010 2020, nobody has done it, so you don't need to cover 2000. Okay, you only cover 2010 onwards. Okay, right. So you need to be mindful of what has been published. Okay? So your objective may be, the latest review was from 2000 to 2010. There's no review since 2010, so I'm doing it now. Okay, so that would make the editor say, this is a good topic, okay, because it's not been covered. Okay, a review paper can be very large. It can be very focused. Okay, if you're writing writing a review paper, maybe you need to focus. Okay, so why write a review paper? Putting things into perspective for the research community. Actually, no funding needed, okay, but it's not easy. Okay, we thought it's easy. It's not easy. Okay. No experiment needed. Okay, and it gives you high citation. Most of the PKM very high citation are from review paper, from other universities also. If you look at the top citation from review paper. Okay. Citation contributes to ranking of university, and like QS test, university ranking, citation is important. Okay. Some ranking does not include how many papers you publish. Is citation. Okay. So that will contribute to university ranking. Okay, so type of review article. Narrative reviews. Selected studies are compared and summarized on the basis of the author's experience, existing theories and models. The results are based on a qualitative rather than a quantitative level. This is narrative reviews. Number 2 is best evidence reviews. In this review, the author focused on selected studies, and combine them with systematic method of study selection and result exploration. I'm going to give you an example. Systematic reviews. Finding from various individual studies are analyzed statistically by strict procedures, and meta-analysis are used to prove the result of individual studies. Okay. So kita ingat satu je review. So there are many types of reviews. Okay, so number 4 is status quo review. Discuss the most current research for a given field of research. Current, what is it going on? Okay, for example, a new discovery on supermassive black hole. Okay, so we quickly write a review. What are the current, maybe 2 or 3 years punya issues we put together. So it's very short, but it's very useful for people to get an access overview of the current situation. Okay, macam bidang I last 1 or 2 years ada superhydride superconductors, right? So there are maybe about 10 of this material now. So quickly write a review paper on this particular topic, okay? Because there's none before. Okay, so you need to quickly realize time is important. Okay, timeliness is important because the editor wants those kind of review. Okay, there are yang dah lama, the old type, okay, but the timeliness, if it's a new discovery in your field, you quickly write. Okay, it may be 10 pages or 5 pages, but it's important. Historical review, development of field over time. Yang tadi kan 2010, 2020. Even if 2010, 2015 has a review, but 2015 to 2020 no review, you can consider writing those, because if there are a lot of papers published on that very active field, okay? So tak semestinya 10 years. Okay? Issues review covers the investigation of an issue, a point of disagreement or question in a specific research field. And theory or model reviews introduce new theory or model in a specific field. So maknanya you take result from various papers, and then you look at all the models or theory and compare them and come up with which one is the most likely model for that particular phenomenon. Okay. So you need to be able to recognize. This is important, to recognize when to start. Nobody will ask you, but you should recognize it. Okay? Especially when a new discovery comes out, you quickly recognize, so I need to write this one. Okay, why you need to review? Because you want to tell something. Because you know a lot of things, but you need to tell something and you need to simplify. Okay? Sometimes for a few years, nothing happened in your field, so no review. Right? But sometimes things suddenly happen, you need to step on it. Okay? Step on the gas. Right. So those are the 7 review papers. What you do is just you write the review, and you don't have to care about each of the 7. Eventually, you will fall to one of those. Okay. Tapi kalau you ada, because since I introduced to you, maybe at the time of writing, you start writing, then you have some idea which one of the 7 falls. Okay. Right. Role of editor in obtaining review paper. So editorial board pun dia keep feelers juga. Okay, so you editorial board biology, uni kan, chemistry, mathematics. Can we get one review from each of you? Not from the editor. But the editor will find people to write the review. Okay, so the editors will invite prominent authors to write review paper. So once the authors and the editor agree on content, they can start the review paper. Okay. Kita pun boleh. Authors also can suggest a title for a review. Okay. You can suggest before you write, or you can just write and then submit. Put okay. Right? So if you suggest to the editor, then it will come with a table of content. Okay? Table of content. So review paper ni bukan macam paper biasa, dia mesti ada table of content. Okay? doesn't have to be a formal table of content. It can be just the last paragraph in your introduction. So this review will contain in section 2, this one method, okay, section 3, this, section 4, this, 5, this, 6, conclusion. Okay, they're the method, they're the table of content. Okay, so if you come to us and say you want to write a review, the editor may look at it, look at your table of content, and they can make counter suggestion. Okay? Counter suggestion. And that is okay. All right. So they can come with a counter suggestion for the table of content. Okay. It's good if you approach them, because then you don't have to make a lot of revision once you submit. Okay? If you just write, only then submit to them, and only then they look at it, they may have a lot of things that they may want you to change. Okay, so it's up to you either way. Okay, sometimes if I write a review paper, sometimes I ask them, sometimes I just simply write, and then we work on the table. Okay. So the important thing is you look at the editor's perspective. They want a good review paper, so that one of the things is so that the journal got high citation, got high impact. Okay, so you look at that point of view, not your point of view. Okay, so when you start writing it, you sit on the editor's desk rather than the author's desk. Okay, and look at the paper review paper published in his journal. Okay, how long? Is it 20 pages? Is it 40 pages? And how many figures? How many references? Yeah, so you get an idea of what is acceptable to that particular journal. Okay. And number 3, editors need to recognize that not all review promises are materialized. Okay. So bila kita panggil orang buat review paper, out of 10, maybe we got 2 for you. Okay. Because not many people want to write a review paper. Okay, they are busy doing their original research. So kita as an editor, we understand 10 dapat 2 pun dah it's good enough. It's very good. Okay. All review article must undergo the peer review process, regardless of whether by invitation or otherwise. By invitation pun kita review juga. Jangan kata, oh, they invited me, so there will be no review process. There will be normal review process. So this is a typical review process. So you have material submitted, and then you got technical check, okay, and then content screening, and then if it's out of the scope, language is banned, so it's rejected. Okay. And then after content screening by editor. Editor will look at the title, look at the introduction, look at everything. Okay. The objective is important. So in your introduction of your review, you must have statement objective. If possible, put in an abstract also, so that the editor can see what's the objective of this review. And then you go to peer review, and then it may be rejected, or major revision, minor revision, and then get final results. So here is very important. Screening by the editor, just like other papers. So this one is from page 24 from my book here. Now in press, tengah printing. Right, so this book is actually my experience as a journal editor for Science Malaysia from 2006 to 2013. There is a chapter on Science Malaysia. Okay, so kalau dia dah siap nanti boleh belilah ya. Advertising sikit kat sini. Okay, so there are many other things that you may want to read. The editor's point of view when they manage the journal. Okay, challenges in writing a review paper. it takes too much time. Okay? It may affect your publication that particular year. It may affect. Okay? Because you need to spend a lot of time in this review paper. Sebabnya kalau normally you write 5 or 4 WAS journal a year, if you write a review paper, you should expect a decrease less than 5. Okay, because it takes a lot of time. Okay? If you can maintain 5 or more, that's good, but you should expect less. Okay? Because it takes time to write a good review paper. It's not an original research article, you won't get a Nobel Prize for it. Okay? Because it's not original. But you get high citation. Okay? Your H index will be high, number of citations will be high, which will be considered for promotion. Not all journal publish review paper. Okay? Some journal just like publish original research article. Some journal only publish this review paper. Some journal publish both kind of papers. Okay. So even though sometimes you see that journal never publish a review paper, you can always send them. Okay, because if it's a good review paper, they will publish it. Okay. So if you look through the journal, it never publish a review paper. But if you write a good one, they will publish it. Okay. It's 9:36. Copyright. Sometimes when we write a review paper, we need to include figures and tables from other journals. Okay, or maybe it's from our own paper, published in Springer or Elsevier or whatever, right? So you need to get permission. Okay, so dalam the editorial board kata ask permission, not forgiveness. Okay, so let's say you have a figure in a journal article and you want to include that in your review paper. Okay, so you need to ask permission. Okay, use of figures, tables, a big part of paragraph from other journal, books of publication, you need to get permission. There are 2 issues we need to address. Number 1 is ethical issue. You need to cite where you get it from. That's easy. Number 2, you need to obtain permission from the publisher and from the author. Both. If you are the author, then you don't need to. But otherwise, you need to write to both. Okay, so for the publisher, what you need to do is you go to the website and you go look for permission or contact us. Okay, and then you ask for permission. Okay, if you ask for many, let's say 3 or 4 figures from a paper, maybe they will ask you to pay. Okay, if it's only 1, normally no pay. Okay, and then you also contact the author. You write letters. Nobody write letters anymore. So you use email. Okay, so sometimes the papers are very old, no email. Maybe you can write letter. Okay, maybe 1970s in your paper, kan? Okay, so you need to write to them, and they will say, okay, right? Okay, so in order to, for the publisher, what you need to do is you go to their site, and this is also there, and sometimes it's under contact us or sometimes under permission. Okay, so you fill out everything. Okay, kat bawah tu they will ask you which paper, what page, what figure, number, and then what is your tentative title of your paper. Okay, tak payah, you don't know what journal, but we know our tentative title, right? So we just hit that tentatively. Okay, so if it's 1 figure, they normally say, okay, you can use it right away. Jawapan dia. Okay. If it's many figures, it may take more than 24 hours before they return, and then they have a seat. And then they will tell you how much you pay. Okay. So if you decided not to pay because it's so expensive, you need to tell them, I decided not to use it. Otherwise, they are going to bots. Okay. So it's important to have this, okay? Authors are very glad to let you use their figures, okay? They will say that if you, when this book is published or this review paper is published, please send me a copy, okay? Yes. Yeah, good question. If we modify the figure, do we need to obtain permission? I would seek permission. Okay?
Because we add papers,
yes.
one figures.
Okay. So that would be if you add from different papers, that would be you don't need to ask permission. Okay? If it's a minor modification from the original one, you need to ask permission. So you need to ask yourself whether you need to decide whether you need to ask permission. Okay? Okay, so the best thing to do is to refer to the review article in the journal that you wish to submit and see how they wrote the paper and see the length and so on. So that would give you some idea. So from the editor's point of view, we want a good review paper written very well. Okay. In other words, it must be like in a full version rather than a draft version. Okay. Sometimes you just throw in because and see what the editors say. You know? It's not good like that. Okay, make it the final as much as possible, not a draft. Okay, for you it's final, but it's not. The editor see it as a draft. Okay, you have worked for this review for 3 months, and I'm finished. This is the final. But when the editor look at it, it's a draft. Okay, so find all the necessary references and papers. Okay, so if you're new to it, it's very hard because you may miss landmark papers. If you're an expert in it, you know which are the landmark papers. So that's why the young people need to work with the senior people. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of how to use Scopus to search for articles. Okay, so this is my my field is superconductors. I cannot give you IPI punya title lah ya, sebab this is my field. I don't know how to find topic in IPI study. So the example is let's say I want to find I like to write a review on ultrasonic studies on superconductors. Why I want to write this? Because nobody has written it. Okay, the last one was 1993. Okay, so I want to search for papers. I know a lot of papers already on ultrasonic studies on superconductors. I just thought that I may miss if I didn't search for it. Okay. So what I do, I go to Scopus, and I just see superconductors, article title, website, keywords, and so on. Okay. So and then all papers. Okay. So only one keyword kat sini, and then title. So I will get right. So it's possible to write a review on superconductors. Okay. So actually review I nak buat tadi is ultrasonic on superconductors. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, instead of superconductors, a superconductor or superconductivity lagi banyak lah ya. Okay. And the title 149,000. Okay. So if I want to do ultrasonic, what I do is superconductors title, and because this is important, and ultrasonic title. Okay. So dia akan cari, they will try to find this search engine will find superconductor and ultrasonic both. Okay. If I put all, it doesn't care. Either one term appear, it will take it. Okay. So now you put an and, you will find article that carries two of these keywords. Okay. So I got 723 papers. So that is 150,000 kan? Okay. Now I got 723. Okay, it's quite difficult to write papers on with a review paper with 723 articles. Okay. Right. So now I'm going to look at the superconductors. What type of superconductor yang ada? Okay, and narrow down. Okay. Okay. One type is the thallium type. Okay, thallium type. So superconductor ultrasonic on thallium. Okay. So N. So you find three of these phrases. Okay. Kalau dua je dia tak keluar. One no, but all three must be present. Okay. Right. And I have 70. Most of it are my paper. Okay. Right. So only 70. Not enough to write a review paper. Okay. Okay. Right. So now what I'm going to do, I'll have to add another superconductor. Alright. So I got superconductor, superconductivity, ultrasonic, mercury, thallium. Okay. Superconductor, superconductivity is O, right? And then N, ultrasonic, is G or thallium. Okay. Here means that you will find on superconductors either superconductivity and ultrasonic, or superconductor and ultrasonic, and then you will find mercury or thallium. Okay. Kalau I predicted mercury and thallium, you will try to find both, which is impossible. Okay. So you put an or. So this how. That's what is this algorithm dekat search advanced search to use is used for. Okay. So you put or, so that either one will cover, and then N because I need this one in, right? And then or either one of them. Okay, so I get 188 papers. Okay, so that's manageable. Manageable for a review paper. Okay, so there are 188, and later on I only use about 60. Okay. So that's how you do search. Senior people like me know which are the landmark paper in this particular field, but I may miss. Okay, so I'm going to use those. All right. So, say example. So, ultrasonic and elastic properties of thallium and mercury-based cuprate superconductor, a review based on 188 papers. Okay. So this is the abstract. So tak nampak ya. Function. Ada.
Oh dia.
Okay. So this is the review paper, ultrasonics and elastic properties of TL and SG based cuprate superconductors review. Okay. This is the abstract. This is the introduction. There will be numerous report on the LA base and Y base, which is not the one that I'm going to do. However, report on the TL base and SG base are not as many. Okay, so I do because this is why I do it. Okay. So this paper, kadang-kadang sometimes they have table of content. Okay, but if the journal does not have any table of content, this is where your table of content is. Okay, this paper is divided into 7 sections as follows. Number 2 is ultrasonic attenuation and so on and so on. Number 2, number 3. Alright, so this is number 2. Number 1 is introduction, so you taruh tak. Okay, and number 5 is this one, and number 6 conclusion. Okay. Objective is somewhere dekat sini tadi. Okay, so it's very important for the objective. So that's section 3. Method, kan? Sometimes what you do is you may have your own research material, your own original research material. You can put the method here. Okay. So it's all text. Okay, tulis orang-orang. These are the references. So out of 188, I only use 59. Okay. Table, all the gallium-based superconductors. Okay, reference material. So you put everything in. This is very important. Okay. And this one, the elastic properties. So itu sebabnya that's why it take a long time. Okay, all these numbers you have to find. Okay, why? Because so that the researcher want to find the properties of this material, kan, this TL and SG base. It's easy for them. It's useful for them. Okay. So these are the things that actually take a long time because you need to find out the mana references for each one of them. Okay, and kalau tidak for each one there is also here. Okay. And one figure. That's it. Okay. Apa dia kat sini? So there's quite a lengthy review paper. Okay, so untuk ni begitu.
Drag me.
Ya.
Drag sampai ujung.
Okay, so this one is quite topical lah. Okay, so this is very short. Okay, so this one for this particular phase, okay, spoken after ni ada 100 of phase. So only one. Okay, because I find it interesting. So elemental substitution ada TL side of the review. Okay, so this one is let's see, I submitted it just before PKP kan, 18 Mac kan. Okay, and then 1 month after that it's accepted. Okay, this is the top 10% jurnal lah kan yang. Okay, so you need to find an interesting topic. Okay, interesting topic. Yes.
To mention why we choose that topic in the paper.
Of course, you have to.
So we have to make sure that the topic is very, very important.
Very, very important. Yes. All right. Okay. So so these are the references. Nak cari ni yang susah ni. Okay. So some have the numbers like on-site temperature ni ada, yang ni tak ada. So kita biar kita leave it. Okay. It's okay to leave it blank because it's not available. Okay. So don't worry about that. Okay. Sebab kadang-kadang we want to put all this, some of it is not present, it's not available. Just put whatever you have. It's very important. Okay. Kalau tidak nanti review kata sebab apa? Why don't you put other material? You know, this material tak ada sebab apa? Kalau dia kata tak ada TC on site, tak ada tu. Just put whatever you have. Okay. Alright. So this is the review lah. Okay. And the most important from this review is this figure. This one. These are from all the papers. And we don't know the relationship between the transition temperature and ionic radius. So this review actually put them all together, right, for the many years in the paper, and we see a linear trend with ionic radius. Very important. So bila orang nak cari superconductor yang baru kan, oh, I need to have a large ionic radius. Okay, ini nobody knows before you do the review. This, yeah.
Sorry, this is the divided.
No, this is I just antar.
So So you just send the full paper
Yeah,
to them.
because I'm confident. Because I find this linear relationship. Okay. Right, and there is a special case for chromium because it's very high, even though it's very small. So it's stated in the paper. It's a very special case for chromium. Why? I don't know. Okay. Right. So bila kita mesti ada cerita lah bila tulis review paper ni. Kita have story, new story to tell. Rather than just collecting all the data, must have a story so that the editor cannot reject the paper. Yes.
What is the expected length?
There are some very long, 40 pages. There are some, I think, 5 pages, something like that. This is a very specific material. Okay. So, if I were you, I would try to find something like this rather than yang tadi yang panjang tadi. Okay. Maknanya before you write, you actually thought about it first. You know, you have not started review paper yet. You have not started writing it. But you need to find out what is interesting about this, why I write it, and what is the point where the editor cannot reject me, even though my English is very bad. Okay. Okay. So the suggestion is that further study need to be done on this chromium, and also further works on larger ionic ranges need to be done. Suggestion. Okay. So this is not relevant to you, but I hope it will help you. Okay. Only 44 papers. It's not long. A very short review, but very important. Okay. So, with that, I end my talk. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer any questions. We have half an hour. Soalan apa? Dah boleh tulis dah? Yes.
How many maximum number of authors usually for one review?
How many authors? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter as long as they contribute to that review. Doesn't matter. Okay. Tapi if you like to have a single author paper, kan? that's the way you do it lah. Okay, ada lagi? Yes. Just shout.
Thank you so much for the presentation. If you don't mind, just about the historical review. You said something about the papers that I did in my paper, I mean the references. So any case that I can work in between, for example, I want to publish now. So the references that I should include in my paper should be, for example, 10 years before, because the name is historical, so you know. So you can.
Okay, for historical paper, you need to find out the latest historical review, the latest one. Maybe the latest one is, as I told you, maybe 2010. Okay, so from 2000 to 2010, that is the historical review. Okay, so you don't need to include 2010 and before. You only include afterwards, after 2010. Okay, so because you say that historical review on this subject has been done until 2010. So far, there is no historical review until 2020. So the objective of my review is to review this from 2010 to 2020. You can always refer to a few papers in in the last review, of course. You can always, but you don't have to include all.
So the most concern of this one about the editor or the reviewers, who will focus a lot on this once I submit my paper. The editor will check this kind of.
They won't check, but I mean, the reviewer will normally are senior. They know what you're if you say that only 2010 until 2010 there's a review, they will know. They will check. Okay.
Because sometimes, in general, the editor himself will check the data for some reason. I don't know those kind of.
That's right. That's why they reject, because you only compile all the data and not synthesize it. Okay, synthesize it. Give a trend. Give something new. Okay, give a new model based on all these papers. If you just compile, put in a table without any good synthesis, they will not accept a good journal. Okay, so the thinking is very deep. Okay, it's not superficial. It's very deep. Yes, apa tadi? Ada lagi? Ya.
Adakah boleh ataupun normal untuk author tu dia letakkan figure dia sendiri, dia buat figure dia sendiri dalam review paper? Mungkin statistical figure ke macam mana ke?
Yeah, I think that's what is needed. That's what is needed.
Yang tadi tu Prof Akasha tadi tu ada figure tu, figure dia ataupun dia
We come up with the figure. That's our figure.
kita dia buat statistical punya plotting lah.
Yeah, because one people, kalau I boleh. Okay, so this figure actually represent one paper, 1 point, 1 paper, 1 point, 1 paper, 1 point, 1 paper, 1 paper, 1 paper. We put it together, become a graph. Okay, that's what you need to do. Don't need permission, because this is my graph.
That figure is yang lagi satu tu.
Yang ni referee tak, dia kata can you show just one register versus temperature. This is our result.
Oh, result sendiri.
Result sendiri. I think it's not important, but the reviewer want it, so we just give it. Okay, so maknanya from the table here, okay, the table ni ada TC ni kat sini. Okay, take all this, put in the table, put in the graph. Put in the graph like that. So you see the trend. If it's in the table, that's why they reject. They didn't see the trend. Okay, so you need to find out the best way how to convince him to to accept your paper. Okay. So daripada sini pun kita tahu that it's for this material it's quite impossible lah to get very high TC. So, and maybe you need to find other material. Okay. Ada lagi? Yes. Ini lagi profesional ya. Yeah, I think you don't have to worry about that. You just do the review, and it will automatically fall under one of those. Yeah. Okay, if you're not sure, you don't put anything, just say a review. Yeah, safer that way. Okay, until they get into argument, right? With the title only, right? So you just say a review. Okay? Unless the editor want you to meet, then maybe you can decide based on the few paragraph I will they can decide which ones. Okay. Yes. How long does it take to write a review paper? That's the question. Difficult to answer. What I personally, what I do is before I write the review, I think about it first, maybe for a few months. Okay, before I actually write it. Okay, and when I'm ready, only then all the thoughts are there already, and start writing. Even then, you discover new things that you didn't expect. Okay, and normally we write a review because we want to say something. You know, we have been in this field for so long. Orang yang membuat, kan? And we want to find something new. You have something to say, you know, rather than because bukan pengarang suruh buat review paper. Okay? That's more genuine, and you enjoy it more. Okay? Tapi itulah, I mean, that's a peluang, opportunity for you to write a single author paper. Yes.
Boleh tak Prof bagi pendapat? Selalu kalau kita dengar orang kata selalu review berkaitan dengan chapter 2 thesis. Apa pendapat Prof? Betul ke kita boleh tukarkan bentuk?
Okay, so normally people thought that chapter 2 of a thesis is a literature review. To a certain extent, it's true, but it may not be complete. It may not be complete, and maybe there's not a lot of synthesis in chapter 2. It's just because you just give, you know, whatever people have done before, and you don't really look at the trend and so on. But you can use that as a basis to write a good review paper. Because it's written by a graduate student. Kan? So if you, as a supervisor, get into it, then it will be more meaningful as a review paper. Okay?